of Nelson Bay, and they were amazed just how well they were looked after and catered for. And it just hit something in their hearts. And when they went back, what are we doing living out here at Walgett or whatever the case might be? And we're going to Port Stephens instead of house in Port Stephens. And so we've got this 3,000 Aboriginal people here in Port Stephens. That's the latest statistics. So we are a part of the great land that defines us as a people, including our languages. What's the name of our language? Garang, including our language and our stories, which are the foundation of our culture. We, the Worimi, are spiritually connected to this land that has sustained our people for many thousands of years. And when I think about that word spiritually, we've really got no idea just how much the Ukraine people love their country. You talk about spirituality. Talk to some of those people out there that's struggling now because of what they're going through, the Ukrainians. And our desire is to care for the land, no question. That's who we are as Aboriginal people. Care for the land and for the environment. This is our commitment to our forefathers and future generations. And so on behalf of my people, I welcome you all to our God-given country. I don't use those words lightly here this afternoon. I'm a chaplain, we are chaplains in this community, even at 80 years of age, and we just love working with our people in hospitals and the community, and there's quite a lot of elders in our area here, and we have constant contact of working with those elders. So I welcome you all to our God-given country, and I trust our journey together, both now and into the future, will continue, underscore it. This is where we're heading. You talk about reconciliation. This is where we are heading. Both now and into the future will continue to be pleasant and productive. In our Garang language, we don't like saying goodbye. We'd rather say couple, which means see you again. Welcome everyone. Enjoy the beautiful land of the Worimi. Thank you.
But firstly, I'd like to ask Linda Sloan to come up, who is the author of this book, to say a few words.
Well, we're here. 18 months. It's taken me 18 months. But we are here today to launch this book. Now, my boss has just thrown me because he just put 50 cents in my hand and just said, "You've done a great job." 50 cents, Frog, 50 cents. Before I get moving, because this is my opportunity to thank people tonight, and there truly have been a lot of contributors to this book. And there's a number of people in the room, the ones with the white badges on, they are part of the core team of this book. So please make yourself known to them, ask questions, find out about their craft. They are here to talk to you tonight and also to celebrate, because this is their achievement as well. But this is something that I wrote very early on in the book, and I want to read this to you because it means a lot to me. But where are the fishermen, the fishers? Could you come in, please? Come on, stop hiding. Get in here. All the fishers, please, can you just come forward, because this is for you. So this is something that I wrote, which means a lot to me. It's early morning, our local fishers are out in their boats and trawlers. The day's long for some, casting nets and lines. We observe the camaraderie among them and their families, the knowledge shared and their stories told, a run or two at the end of another long day, which I'm sure you do, because I know we do at the shop. Thank you for your commitment and dedication. Bringing fresh product from port to plate, our community salutes you. And we truly mean that. So there are some very special people here. The printer is here tonight. I want to introduce him to you because you have just been incredible for me through this whole journey. So Emmanuel is the printer. He's out of Sydney. We won't talk about the issues that he had printing this along the way. It is a big book. It started, I was hoping, 140 pages. It climbed to 224. for Colleen and the staff there, I mean, we just requoted and requoted because the book pages just kept climbing. But I just want to acknowledge you and say thank you. And I know we've got a journey with this. Yeah. To the team, I mean, I've said it several times, but I just want to say thank you again. Without you guys, it just would never have been possible. Having Ludo on board here tonight and your family, thank you for hosting us. Very special. I know you'll do a wonderful job. For the local business and supporters and all the people here tonight, I just want to thank you for your support. For DPI, I know Sean Sloan is here. Sean, thank you. Thank you for coming on board. I know it was towards the back end of the project, but just getting that funding through and you launching that program, the Eat More New South Wales Seafood, has just been a wonderful thing for us. And without it, I mean, I would have backed it right to the end for this project, but it's been an enormous help. So thank you very much. I had a vision, and the vision never really altered. I was committed to getting local chefs, local artists, local industry, photographers, videographers, editors. It just went on and on. My graphic designer, Katie Modern. Katie, where are you? Katie? Katie, we were on this journey. When everybody had finished their jobs, Katie and I were left, not holding the bag, but we were left to finish the job. And I think one of the things for me, there were some really lonely times for me because it was the commitment to everyone that I'd made and the team that I was going to get this product finished. And it weighs heavy, it really weighs heavy. And sometimes you feel quite alone with it. But anyway, we're here today and we've launched, and now we can get on with the fun part, which is the distribution and the sales. So I just encourage you to push it out there. I'm here, I'm happy to do launches, book signings, whatever you need, I'm here to assist. But we really would like to get this book out, and we hope that other communities will take a leaf out of our book and maybe encourage them to do something of similar for their regions. Anyway, thank you, have a great night, and I'll hand you back to Greg.
Thanks, Linda. That was a great summary. It sounds so easy coming from Linda, but Linda was very tenacious in her effort, her continued effort to put this book together, and she's acknowledged a lot of the people that supported her in that dream, which has now come to fruition. We're lucky to have, fortunate to have a lady from Adelaide, Jo Marshall, who is running the Stay Afloat program, and I've just learnt that we're having a silent auction, and I'd like to ask Jo to make an announcement and explain briefly what Stay Afloat's all about.
Hi everybody, I'm Jo Marshall. I work with Seafood Industry Australia and I run the National Mental Health Program called Stay Afloat, which we were very grateful to receive funding from the Federal Department of Health for back in the last election, I think it was. So I took on the project right at the beginning of COVID, and it's a community engagement project. So I spent a year and a half meeting as many fishermen and others in industry as I possibly could via Zoom and phone, which was really quite interesting. So now Veronica keeps signing off flights all the time because I'm out every week meeting people. I want to just quickly share that commercial fishers and others in the seafood industry do it really tough. They experience higher rates of psychological distress than the average Australian population, and it's not just fishers. We've certainly seen through COVID that that's extended right through to plate with the impacts on hospitality and others in our industry around Australia. Greg Finn has been a wonderful supporter of me in getting to know fishers from afar and how the industry works, and I want to acknowledge Johnny Alessi, who's here somewhere, who has joined us in our program. Hi everybody, I'm Jo Marshall. I work with Seafood Industry Australia and I run the national mental health program called Stay Afloat, which we were very grateful to receive funding from the Federal Department of Health for back in the last election, I think it was. So I took on the project right at the beginning of COVID, and it's a community engagement project. So I spent a year and a half meeting as many fishermen and others in industry as I possibly could via Zoom and phone, which was really quite interesting. So now Veronica keeps signing off flights all the time because I'm out every week meeting people. I want to just quickly share that commercial fishers and others in the seafood industry do it really tough. They experience higher rates of psychological distress than the average Australian population, and it's not just fishers. We've certainly seen through COVID that that's extended right through to plate with the impacts on hospitality and others in our industry around Australia. Greg Finn has been a wonderful supporter of me in getting to know fishers from afar and how the industry works. And I want to acknowledge Johnny Alessi, who's here somewhere, who has joined us in our program, Trusted Advocates. And our Trusted Advocates exist as the heart of our program, local people who know the local industry, who are given training and support to provide a listening ear around how people are struggling with the stresses and challenges they face in the combination of what the industry throws them, as well as getting on with all the challenges that every person faces throughout life. So people in our industry supported with training, not only to help with problems, but more importantly to help with well-being, help with prevention, help with positive habits so that we can all help each other out. One of the things we've learned is that in lots of areas of Australia, the identity of fishermen has been a bit dented over the years and things have changed a lot for them. So for us to see and be part of a celebration of these amazing people who do sustain us and do represent such an important part of life as an Australian is nothing short of an absolute honour. So I was thrilled to be here. It was such a pleasure to meet Linda. Where's Linda gone? I'm not sure. There she is. And we had a beautiful chat early, just after I seconded her and made her speak without any warning to my camera. And we talked a little about the program that we have, and she and Megan kindly said to me that they'd been looking for somewhere to put the proceeds of tonight's silent auction for the beautiful artwork that Megan is producing. So I think this photograph, is this what I'm announcing? Is this what you wanted from me? Yes. Yeah, cool. Good. So this beautiful pelican over here and the stunning piece of art that Megan's in the process of producing are going to be part of the silent auction, and for which our author and artist have kindly asked Stay Afloat to be the recipient of those funds. And Veronica and I, whilst we're very, very grateful, what we'd like to do is work with this community to find a way that we can re-inject the funds back into areas of well-being for every element of the seafood industry here in the Port Stephens area. Our program goes so far. We have our constraints around what we can do. So we're going to look for ways that we can bring that funding back and support some real impacts for the well-being of not just the fishers and the chefs and the processors, but their families and their friends and their community. So Linda and Megan, I just cannot thank you enough. And if you're a fisher in this room, I need to meet you before the night's out because I don't want to leave disappointed. It's my favourite part of my job. Thank you.
Thanks, John. So there's about 15 courses of food to come out, and I don't want to hold up Ludo. He's looking quite nervous, put a lot of work into this. So there's going to be some food making its way around the room, and I'll be very interested in hearing what your favourite dish was tonight. Paul North, local oyster producer, is going to give us a demonstration of some of the work that goes into growing and producing a world quality oyster. Thanks, Paul. Thanks.
And of course it was getting more
you've
modern
had plenty
at
of
the time.
practice. You used to do all this stuff all the
When I
time.
first got here, we started doing the Pacific oyster. They're really big. They're the Gygus. They're called Gygus. That's a Latin term. Exponential. They're flat out growers. The Gupses of the oyster world. In about 2014, 2015, we had them, they got wiped out. But anyway, we decided to go on to the Sydney Rock Oyster, which is a favourite. The port here is home to 48 different oyster farmers. It's basically, we're doing 106 million dozen yearly, and collectively, we're doing 106 million. Basically, that equates to $9 million to the farm gate. Your rock oyster, it'll take basically 2.5 to 3 years to grow to maturity. You can buy them from a hatchery, or you can catch your own. So we have, believe it or not, these are Venetian blinds. And a lot of the farmers in the port use these, and what happens is they go into a block, they go into a certain part of the port, and the baby oysters will catch onto those. You flex the stick, they all fall off, and you've got lots of little babies. Or you can buy them from a hatchery. And from there, it's the farmer's responsibility, if you get, wherever you've got them, whether it's by yourself or whatever, to get them to maturity. And so we go from a small bag, which is called your 6 mil, and there's different types, different people that make the bags. They go into these. As they get bigger and bigger, then they go into bigger mesh bags, and they get, basically they go into bigger bags the whole time. There's a lot of different methods, there's new methods, there's new systems coming in the whole time into the port. Traditionally for the Sydney rock oyster, we're using a tray, and they have lids on them like that, and then they get wired down onto racks. Originally, they used to be, sort of not forgetting that, like oyster farming started in 1800s, mid-1800s, like the late 1800s in this port. So basically, we're now into the plastic trays. The newer systems here now are like a long line system, so they clip on and they grow in there and into time stuff.
To introduce a couple of guests that we've had travel up here to join us this afternoon, who have a message that would all keenly be interested to hear. Firstly, I'd like to introduce Larry Price, who's from Ocean Watch Australia. She's the CEO of Ocean Watch Australia, that look after a lot of environmental issues connected with our waterways. They do a lot of work with the oyster industry, and they support Master Fisherman's program. Larry, could you come up and say hello, please?
I think I'm supposed to hold on. Yes. Is that right? I don't know if you can hear me. Is that okay if I put that in my pocket? Thanks, Greg.
No worries.
I've got a few things that I wanted to say, so I made sure I wrote them down to not forget some of these important things. But just thank you for the invitation to speak today. What an amazing group of people that have put this wonderful book together, and the passion of the fishers, the farmers, the producers, the supply chain, the chefs, and you diners is just palpable. And Linda, you have managed to put all of that inspiration and passion into the book, and it's beautiful, and I really congratulate you. So that's the first thing. Thank you also for the wonderful welcome to country. It was really heartfelt, and coming from an extended family from the oyster industry further down south, it's great stories to hear, so thank you for that. There's a lot of unity in this room, and I think it really does take the whole supply chain and the community as well to really make this a supported celebration and a standout event. So fantastic. So as we stand here tonight, surrounded by these pristine waters where rivers flow to estuaries out to sea, I'm reminded of a few years back when the industry also came together in unity, but rather than for a celebration, it was actually as a call to arms. So back in the late 1980s, I'm sure a lot of you would remember farmers were struggling with dust storms on land, the massive loss of topsoil, but our fishers were also fighting really bad pollution and a really atrocious marine pollution from effluent and sewage, impacting fishing grounds. And the headlines in the newspapers was daily, and it was really unsavoury. So spurred into action, the late Peter Doyle, the restaurateur, the fisherman, and the renowned seafood ambassador, convinced his fellow fishers and the city fish markets and fish merchants to band together and unite, and together they created Ocean Watch. And the purpose was to fight marine pollution and save our fish habitat and water quality. So this group of visionaries recognised that the seafood industry's future was underpinned by a healthy, a productive, a valued and responsibly used marine environment. So the Sydney Fish Market, the fish merchants and the New South Wales fishers through the Co-ops Association funded Ocean Watch through a levy on fish boxes, which continues to this day. And I do want to recognise that there are people in this room that were part of that band of fishers and marketeers and merchants who were part of that initial group. And Brian Skepper, I'm thinking straight of you, because I know you signed the papers over the association. So for over 30 years, Ocean Watch has campaigned for change by working with those who use and value the marine environment. Hand in hand with our industry and community partners, we've campaigned to reduce that pollution. We fought acid sulfate soil disturbances by coastal development. We've campaigned to halt the spread of marine pests and diseases. We've achieved some major reductions in accidental capture and bycatch of turtles, seals, sea snakes, seabirds, dugongs, as well as whales, dolphins and sharks, whilst also assisting industry to be internationally competitive. We've created over 120 fishery-specific codes of practice which help and guide fishers and farmers towards better practice. And we've helped industry participate in workshops and sea trials of new gear and technologies that created technical guides and handbooks to help them on the back of the boat. We've led major industry cleanups from Darwin Harbour to Hobart, over from Dirk Hartog Island in WA to Fraser Island in Queensland. We were there for the terrible floods in Brisbane of 2011, as we are today on the ground in northern New South Wales and Queensland. Just in the last 12 months, we've launched the Ocean Watch Bushfire Protocol. Oh, what amazing music to announce it. And this is to advise on how to conduct bushfire mitigation and response actions that maximises aquatic resilience. Fires have had a significant impact on aquatic habitats, including decreases in water quality, animal and plant illness as well as death, and considerable habitat change, such as mangroves totally burnt to the roots. We've been working with the urchin divers from the Abalonian Sea Urchin and Turban Shell Fisheries with Greg and his guys to reduce the density of urchins at 4 urchin barrens in New South Wales. This is to enhance seaweed habitats, improve biodiversity, increase the remaining urchin roe quality, as well as increase the abundance of quality abalone. And you guys have really been doing a fantastic job. So well done. This is it here, the product of your labours.
Long spine sea urchin, endemic to New South Wales, not a pest. They're actually very tasty if you know how to prepare them, and you'll all get to try some later.
Oh, awesome. Okay, we also of course work with the Australian community on what we can all do to protect our oceans and the seafood we all love, and just being here today and buying this book would be really helpful. All of our projects work towards the UN Sustainable Development Goals to protect and restore vital estuarine and marine ecosystems. And of course, none of this is possible without the real strong support of funders and grant makers around Australia, Australian Government, New South Wales Government, DPI, as well as trusts and funds and industry itself, because the guys who hide in the corner, they're part and parcel of what happens. And you're all very quiet and shy about it, but you do an amazing job. So I really congratulate you guys. As the CEO of Ocean Watch, I am in an incredible privileged position to know firsthand what it takes to bring in the catch, here in Port Stephens as well as across Australia. So I'd like to share with you what I have learnt about the people who do bring in the catch. So most fishers and farmers spend hundreds of days on the water. They're quick to act in emergencies. They are dedicated to protecting the environment they work in. They generously share their knowledge and extensive on-water experience. They put food on our table. Regardless of drought or fire or floods or pandemic, they do it, they do it, they do it. They are resilient, but they need our support, just like farmers. To reward their commitment, we put together the Ocean Watch Master Fisherman Programme. It's part training, part PR, just to acknowledge industry members' commitment to environmental best practice. We'll shortly have over 300 fish. It starts with a dollop of passion. The passion in the seafood industry is really palpable. It takes the whole supply chain to bring excellence from the tide to the table. Next is the unfolding of the story about our producers' excellence in responsible practice. A dose of transparency is needed. As seafood consumers, you need to know how your food is produced. Ask about its provenance. Be inquisitive about the journey from port to plate. Be bold and willing to substitute. Not all ingredients will be available year-round. Try another of the 600 or so species this industry harvests. Visit the Ocean Watch website and the Master Fisherman website, please. Check out the faces of fishing and everything you ever wanted to know about seafood. But most of all, be confident in your seafood choice. Eat local and buy local. Thank you.
An accountant, a mother of 3. She has a dog, and she's also the CEO of Seafood Industry Australia, and is doing very well, I think, to manage that job with great distinction. So Veronica's is very keen to come and have a chat to you and I guess discuss some of the work that Seafood Industry Australia is about. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Now I've been told to yell. How's the volume? Good? All right. Okay. So thank you very much to Greg. Thank you so much to Linda. And congratulations on a fantastic launch and a fantastic production. The book, I was actually called to write the foreword for the book, and at first I felt a little overwhelmed by that because it's such an important piece of, I mean, as it says on the book, it's a community seafood cookbook, and I think that's a really powerful message. And as I thought about it more, I thought, well, I've been born and raised in Sydney. Some of you would know my family is the Costi family, so we've been fishmongers for a long time. Apologies if anyone has, any fishermen have any other experiences with my family. I'm good for it, I'm good. But obviously it's a big Greek family, and actually what I thought was community is also family, and the seafood industry that I know so well is about family. And so then I felt comfortable writing the foreword and actually sharing a little bit of that story, which is very typical of the Greek immigrant fishmonger story. So my grandfather started in the 1950s, the same year as the Sydney fish markets were established. He got into seafood, not because we had any experience, just that there seemed to be an opportunity, and he was willing to work hard, and other people in the community were getting involved as well. And so for us, it's 3 generations on now, and we've passed different parts of the business through the family, and it has been an industry that has supported us and seen us through floods and bushfires and pandemics, and it's an industry that has always worked on the family story and the community story. And so for me, and as Greg said, it's I've got 2 dogs actually, 3 children, and at the moment we're at, I think we're at about 18 stores across Queensland, New South Wales and Victoria, and so we are, as a family, heavily committed to this industry. And so in amongst all of that, a lot of people say to me, so why would you take on Seafood Industry Australia? How, why would you get involved in something like that when you've already got such a, a crazy life? And the simple answer to that is I couldn't not. So when you have been in an industry that you're so passionate about, and from a retail perspective, not always understood the importance of the consumer face, not always understood the importance of the retailer face to support what the fishermen in this room and the rest of the industry are doing. You can't not rise to the defence of this industry when needed. You can't not want to celebrate the stories. And you can't not want to support the families with either a mental health program or something that actually recognises how difficult and how tough and how much stamina you need to have to be part of this industry. So SIA was actually we're all talking about Brian Skepper tonight, but I was busily going along, running my business and raising my family, and Brian Skepper threw me into a national leadership course, paid for it, made sure I attended. And that was in 2015, and that's when I realised the role that the retail sector has to play and really needs to do better at playing to support industry, and so I take that very seriously. So coming out of that course, there was a discussion around a national peak body, and it was a very abstract concept to me, but what I learnt through that process was that there had been a 15-year gap. So for 15 years we hadn't had a national peak body. We'd had no voice in Canberra, we had no way of pulling together all the learnings and the issues and the challenges that we were facing. And so, you know, we have state and sector representation, but no one who could pull it all together. And as much as each community has its special flavour and its special, you know, its unique characteristics, what we do see from a national perspective is that there is a lot of commonality, a lot of challenges. There's a lot of challenges that are shared. So are there ways that we can provide solutions that are also shared and support each other? So that's very much the basis of what SIA does. The mission, I haven't done any of this, I've not read anything that I wrote, but I forgot, I've got some really important messages. No, so the SIA's mission, and this sounds like a corporate brochure, so bear with me, but SIA's mission is to promote, protect and develop the Australian seafood industry. More importantly, the vision is to be united, effective and respected. And I just want to pick up, Larry mentioned united, and it's a super important word. It sounds like a corporate brochure, but to SIA, it is a very important statement. So being united, SIA represents wild catch, aquaculture and post-harvest. So we know all about the differences. We know all about the feelings that wild catch have about aquaculture, and we know all about the terrible retailers that just care about price and don't care about provenance. I get it, you can all laugh, it's all right. But we know all the reasons that we have differences, but it's SIA's task and mission to talk about the ties that bind us and to unite us. When we stand back to back, when we stand together, we can actually address our challenges in a much more cohesive way. Appreciate the differences, so passionate about. And from a retail perspective, not always understood the importance of the consumer face, not always understood the importance of the retailer face to support what the fishermen in this room and the rest of the industry are doing. You can't not rise to the defence of this industry when needed. You can't not want to celebrate the stories. And you can't not want to support the families with either a mental health program or something that actually recognises how difficult and how tough and how much stamina you need to have to be part of this industry. So SIA was actually we're all talking about Brian Skepper tonight, but I was busily going along, running my business and raising my family, and Brian Skepper threw me into a national leadership course, paid for it, made sure I attended, and that was in 2015, and that's when I realised the role that the retail sector has to play and really needs to do better at playing to support industry, and so I take that very seriously. So coming out of that course, there was a discussion around a national peak body. And it was a very abstract concept to me. But what I learnt through that process was that there had been a 15-year gap. So for 15 years, we hadn't had a national peak body. We'd had no voice in Canberra. We had no way of pulling together all the learnings and the issues and the challenges that we were facing. And so, you know, we have state and sector representation, but no one who could pull it all together. And as much as each community has its special flavour and its special, you know, its unique characteristics, what we do see from a national perspective is that there is a lot of commonality, a lot of challenges. There's a lot of challenges that are shared. So are there ways that we can provide solutions that are also shared and support each other? So that's very much the basis of what SIA does. The mission, I haven't done any of this, I've not read anything that I wrote. But I forgot, I've got some really important messages. No, so the SIA's mission, and this sounds like a corporate brochure, so bear with me. But SIA's mission is to promote, protect and develop the Australian seafood industry. More importantly, the vision is to be united, effective and respected. And I just want to pick up, Larry mentioned united, and it's a super important word. It sounds like a corporate brochure, but to SIA, it is a very important statement. So being united, SIA represents wild catch, aquaculture and post-harvest. So we know all about the differences. We know all about the feelings that wild catch have about aquaculture, and we know all about the terrible retailers that just care about price and don't care about provenance. I get it, you can all laugh, it's all right. But we know all the reasons that we have differences. But it's SIA's task and mission to talk about the ties that bind us and to unite us. When we stand back to back, when we stand together, we can actually address our challenges in a much more cohesive way. Appreciate the differences. To add to that a little bit more, we're also talking about how we can actually work across the recreational sector, the Indigenous fishers, and try to actually bring that, understand everybody who relies on that resource and how we can pull that together. And that is often a very tense situation. It can often be, you know, can bring out a lot of anxieties, but it's an important discussion to have, and we'd like to facilitate that discussion on behalf of industry. So we work really hard for that. We've also already talked about the amazing Stay Afloat program, which we're so proud of. The next step for that program for SIA is actually to focus on safety, so the culture of safety. AMSA and FIDC have supported a program that will actually start looking at how the industry can self-govern and self-regulate and change its own culture around safety so that we're not constantly talked at. So nobody's looking to turn their back on safety. It's a super important issue, but we want to start developing industry's ability to manage itself, to take care of itself, and to take care of mates, mate to mate and person to person within the industry. So that's super important. We have 10 key priorities through SIA, and I'll be really quick about this, but I won't list them all out. But things like resource security of access, it's the thing, accessing the resource and reliably being able to defend the right to fish is super important. We've got a federal election coming up, and so obviously that's SIA's domain. We work in the federal space. We're working with both sides of government to make sure that they understand what fishers need and what needs to actually, how we actually need to protect the right to fish. We'll also be doing a bit of work across the national recreational organisations to make sure marine parks are something that we understand are a reality and something that we deal with, but we must defend the right to fish. And so we'll work really hard in that space to make sure both sides of politics understand. So, it's a really tough environment right now. So we're hearing very much from the ground the rising cost of fuel, the cost of living pressures. You know, we look at the water quality and we understand the impacts of the rain and floods. And I have to say that it is an impressive. I'm constantly impressed by the industry. We talk about resilience and we talk about the way the industry responds, but I don't think it's easy for people outside the industry to understand how much that is. I mean, looking at Paul North and the challenges that oysters are having right now with the weather and other impacts, and yet he'll come and want to talk about his industry and want to talk about what he does, and I think there's a lot of respect. I have a lot of respect for people who are still passionate about the industry every time it knocks them down. And I think that's really important. So I just want to finish on this cookbook because I think that we talk a lot about social licence at SIA, and a lot of people think social licence is a very strange term and we use the word way too much. But in terms of community respect, I think the furphy is that the community does love what we do. Everybody, every family has a story about how they catch a fish, how they prepare a fish or cook a fish, or how they eat it, and their love for that product. So from a retailer perspective, but also from an SIA perspective, having something that actually connects people to the product, outside of the politics and outside of everything else, is a super powerful idea. From an SIA perspective, I'd really love to see this happen in every fishing community around the country, and that's something that we'd like to start conversations about. I said to done it once, that would be the hardest one that you've ever done. So how about we try and bottle that formula and try and do it around the country. I'm gonna cherish my copy, and I hope you all cherish yours. And on that note, I've also said that out of our 18 outlets, I'd like to start selling the book. I'd like to be the first customer and start selling the book as soon as possible. So congratulations to Linda and your team. It's an amazing journey. Thank you so much for letting me be included in it. It meant a lot to me and to my family to be in something that is as special as that. So well done. Thank you. Enjoy your night. Enjoy the seafood. And thank you again. Thanks, Greg.
Well done. Thank you. Brian Skepper's name was mentioned a short while ago, and some of you may not know who Brian is. Brian was the General Manager of the Sydney Fish Market for quite a number of years. Since his...
What a fabulous night and what a fabulous product that celebrates an industry that's been a massive part of my life. I didn't come out of a seafood family. In fact, my father was a horticulturalist, but I went to university and I studied accountancy, and I snared a job doing an audit at Sydney Fish Market in 1972. And I'm still there, or still here. Yeah, it was a funny story. The CEO at the time rang me up on a Friday, and he said, "I need an accountant. Tell me on Monday whether you want the job or not, because if you don't want the job, it'll be a big ad. If you do want the job, it'll be a small ad." So I rang him up on the Monday and I said, "Make it a small ad." And here I am from 1972. I'm still in the industry because it's just so much of my life. I retired a couple of years ago, and I couldn't walk away from being part of this industry, and so I now chair the New South Wales Seafood Industry Council, which is the New South Wales peak industry body. Ocean Watcher, a member, Sydney Fish Market, Master Fish Merchants Association, Professional Fishermen's Association, New South Wales Seafood Industry Training Committee. And so when Sean Sloan contacted me a little while back, it was June 2019 or 2020, and said, how about we partner, DPI partners with the industry on a new program to promote New South Wales seafood under Eat More New South Wales Seafood. And I thought, what a fantastic formula. We've got the regulator, we've got the merchants, we've got the fishermen, we've got the co-ops, working together, promoting our industry. And this is the first project to come out of that vision. And I couldn't be more proud of it, of what you've pulled together with a community cookbook that links the community to the fishermen in this region. Well done, Linda. Fabulous job. I think I'll leave it at that. But yeah, I'll hitch the caravan up in about 2 weeks' time and take off, but the mobile phone follows me, but it's great fun. Great job. Fantastic book. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks to Mandy and Ludovic for having us here. It's actually one of my favourite places in Port Stephens, and it's the first time I've actually driven here. The other times I've driven up by boat, so it's just a fantastic place.
I'm a little bit sorry, the dog's barking at the back.
So, as Greg said, I've been here for actually now 2 years. When I arrived here, the seafood industry had just come off the back of some very difficult and serious reforms, and quotas had been introduced, licence numbers in the industry had been reduced, and those were difficult, decisions and difficult things for the industry to have to go through. So I want to just acknowledge those fishers that are here, having been through that you've been through some difficult times. Those are really important for fisheries, because the job of fisheries management is kind of never over, because the fish stocks don't stay static, the environment doesn't stay static, and fish stocks are always fluctuating. So we have to manage them in response to those changes in the environment. And it's really important that we do that, because that sustainability of our fish stocks is fundamental, not just to the future of industry, but its reputation, its social license, anybody who's going to consume seafood wants to know that they're, sourcing sustainable seafood. So that's sort of our job, to work in partnership with the industry to make sure that platform is there for a sustainable and economically viable and prosperous industry going forward. So yeah, a couple of years ago I arrived here, industry had been through some of that really serious change, and it was really obvious, I think, that there's this big opportunity for the industry to be able to just grow in its value and also start reconnecting with consumers, because my wife is French, and I have the opportunity to travel to France occasionally, and I can see, when you walk around the ports and harbours in France, you can see how connected the producers, the catchers of fish are to the people who consume the seafood. And in Australia, we have, around the place, lost that connection. So, making sure that we have that sustainable platform for our fishers, but then making sure that we've got a way to connect producers and the catchers of the fish to those that consume the fish. So, the Eat More New South Wales Seafood Program was, I guess, came off the back of that thinking and the fact that we needed to not just get people to eat more seafood, but to actually get our consumers to understand and connect with seafood producers. And I think the thing that is happening here at Foyers, where you have a chef and a restaurant that buys directly from a fisher and then provides fresh, locally caught seafood, but also seasonal seafood. So because every fish species is not available every day of the week and every month of the year, so getting consumers to realise that fishers are catching the sustainable product, but also what's seasonally available. So I think these sorts of opportunities where you've got chefs and restaurants working with fishers is what we need to replicate everywhere. So we're going to continue to back those sort of ideas. I think this project, as Brian said, was the first sort of one that we've now got off and run with. We have backed another project, and Larry Price from Ocean Watch will be running a project with the same funding, but to go into schools and educate school children about sustainable fishing practices and start at the sort of grassroots level. We have seafood festivals being funded through this project as well, so you'll see those running across the state when we can all get together like this again. So, and it is great to be sort of able to get together like this. And there's a whole bunch, we funded a whole bunch of projects like that, and we hope to continue that. So I just want to finish by congratulating Linda, and by the way, Linda and I are not related. A lot of
If I married you, I would never have to change my name.
Well, I did get asked if there was a conflict of interest that I was giving money to somebody in my family. But terrific initiative. I think the book celebrates the seafood of Port Stephens. It celebrates the people, and that's really important, I think, because of that connection that we need, the community and the seafood consuming public to have with the people. So, and it's a really good reference. It's all, it's full of factual information on Port Stephens and the seafood industry. So, congratulations, Linda and the team.
Ludwig's going to do a little cooking demonstration, and there's more food to be brought out. So if you could listen to what Ludwig has to say. Ludwig's been very generous for me. A few people have said, how do you fit into this? What's your role? Well, I'm a commercial fisherman as well, and Ludwig, I've actually tested him with a few species. I've given him one example was I had this giant cuttlefish. I put it on the scales. It weighed 16 kilos. I thought, gee, that's the biggest giant cuttlefish I've ever caught. What am I going to do with this? I'll give it to Ludo. So I shipped it off to Ludo, and he didn't say, what am I going to do with this? He just picked it up, got one of his kitchen hands to take a photo. He was pretty excited, and basically did some really wow recipe with this giant cuttlefish and managed to stay clean. So I come in here on Tuesdays to try new recipes on his day off, And
You're always going away with a tart. He loves the pastry.
yeah, but I'm very messy. I'm very messy. I make a big mess. So that's my. I need to improve on my cleanliness. But Ludovic is very clean, and he's going to show you some clean cooking techniques.
I'm going to show you something very. And the food's coming at the same time, so feel free to eat because that's what all is all about too. But I say I'm going to start first with a cocktail, which
found a bit of a lump, a bit of bait on it, and burled. And
I'm not a person making a cocktail, but we're talking about sustainability of the seafood here.
Yeah, he's out the back.
And I find something interesting. So I got a martini glass, and I notice Australian people like to have a drink. You can come closer if you want, you know, like it's...
You won't bite?
I won't bite you. I got knives, but I don't use them on people. So... The most interesting part, so I got my glass with sugar and sugar and salt. That's I got my glass with sugar and salt. I got ice in it. I'm going to put a shot of vodka. This is sugar syrup. Lemon juice, yeah, I can use that. Lemon juice. Now you're going to wonder why I'm doing a cocktail in a seafood cookbook. I'm going to use the urchin now. So Greg told me this one is one of the best urchin, and I have to say I didn't try, but apparently this urchin tastes like lolly. So because I never tried it, I'm going to try the inside. It's pretty strong. This one, I leave it on the side. I reckon is a little bit too strong for the cocktail. The juice I got here, it's from the purple one. So when I open the urchin, I keep the juice, I strain the juice, and what make me starting to do that, it's I love the way it smells. So you have to understand if you smell a gin in a gin and tonic, you got the spices. If you smell the inside of this urchin, you got the seaweed smell of the sea, and it's like you could dive and smell all the garden. You know, like you go in beautiful garden, you smell the flower. The undersea, and it's spicy. So I'm going to put a little bit of this juice inside. So that there is nothing, the vodka doesn't have taste. You got just basically the lemon and the sea urchin juice. And I'm not a barman, you know. The color, it's beautiful as well, and the cocktail is basically ready. So you got a beautiful color. It is not sea urchin, it's just the inside of the sea urchin. The kind of best way to describe it, it's all the flavor coming, the urchin eating, and you got a coffee like that, where the monkey eating the coffee, and that's what happened. So here it is, and sauté. I'm going to do a few after, but yeah. And the next recipes I can do, it'll be very, very quick. It's a tailor. I got the tailor you have in a little bucket. So that's a tailor. Tailor is this fish. This one being scaled and gutted. So I fillet the fish. Actually, there is good people who can fillet the fish around here better than me. So this one, because I'm going just to use a little bit, I don't need to do the other side. So the tailor you had, basically, it's completely raw. That's the tailor. I can take off the rib cage here. Make it pretty. So let's say you go to buy a tailor. You can ask your fish supplier to do that. And you got 4 or 5 bones to take off. Sorry, my table is it's nice, it's stainless steel, but not everybody can see. So I take off the bones of the tailor. And after I really shave it, and I put it on the plates. So the fish is completely raw. To have a raw fish and really appreciate it. Like people, did you enjoy the bonito? With the bonito, everybody said to me it's a strong fish. It's not true. You know, like the bonito is, if you just catch it and eat it, I don't feel it as a strong fish. I think so. It's a preparation you do with it too, you know, like same thing, you know, like I got the bonito from Greg. So when I went fishing with him once, they catch the bonito, they put it straight on ice. And I got a customer one day say, oh, no, I don't eat bonito. I say, why not? He said, it's all mushy. But he called it bonito, but he didn't put it on ice. So the fish boiling kind of with the blood. So after you can't eat them, you know, like it's not pleasant. I'm learning a lot, like being close to the fishermen and discovering some produce, learning some the way they do, and I try to do things with the way I do, you know, like my background as a French person, and do some dishes with that. So this dish inspiration, it came because Greg gave me bonito, what can you do with it? So I said, let me have a look. It come also with, I got Peter, which were helping us in the kitchen today. He's my herb guy, and he's got always beautiful herbs for me. So that is fresh ginger. That is fresh ginger again. That's fresh ginger and galangal. So the fresh galangal. So what I did, I won't do the whole cooking here, but what I did an oil with that. So the oil, that's the color you see is a galangal, the yellow color. So you're a bit generous on the color. Always salt, pepper. So the way I do that, I use a pot. I use a grater. Grate the galangal, the ginger and the turmeric. Sorry, the yellow is turmeric. and olive oil, garlic, salt, pepper, and I boil it. I put a bit of lemongrass as well. So I did a fragrant oil. I season it at the end, and I just season the fish with that. And the next star on this fish, it's all the herbs we put. So this one's one of my favorite. It's shiso. When I was in Sydney in 2000, I could find shiso, but it was imported. It was a male seeds and things like that. And it was very shiso. S-H-I-Z-O or C-H-E-S-O. You want to try? I got fresh oregano. So the fish is a star, so why putting too much with it? You know, like you put aromats, of course, you know, like salt, pepper, but a fresh fish, it talks for by itself. So those flowers are native Australian. Same thing, a little story about those flowers is Peter went to Singapore, and there is a beautiful garden in Singapore. And he went to the Australian part of this beautiful garden, and he finds those violets. And he said, "I got them in my garden. They're native Australian." You know, that's the mint. All sort of fragrance. Bit of watercress. This one is a spearmint. So basically, you got guests at home. You want to do. You basically get a perfect, nice fresh fish. You cut it on your plates. You leave it in the fridge with a glad wrap. And the guests arrive. Your oil is ready. Your seasoning is ready. You put it on, salt, pepper, and beautiful herbs on top. I'm not sure about the Syrian cocktail. Depends on your guest, but you know, here you go. Thank you very much.